is a cosmologist whose new book is about why there is something instead of nothing. I'm guessing because his publisher gave him a deadline. A universe from nothing. Why there is something rather than nothing. A book about the ultimate question. Okay, Doctor. Sweep away thousands of years of mystery and awe at creation.
This table here is mostly empty space.
This table cost me $500. You tell me I got ripped off? Well, no, wait, let's go back a second, okay? Nothing is unstable. What do you mean that nothing is unstable? Nothingness is nothingness.
Well, physics has changed what we mean by nothing. In fact, nothing is an empty space, is a boiling, bubbling brew of virtual particles popping in and out of existence so fast.
That's not nothing, that's something.
Unlike normal stuff, you may have learned in high school that gravity sucks, but in fact, it doesn't. With empty space, it's repulsive. And that empty space is forcing the universe to expand ever faster, faster and faster.
So the nothingness is forcing us apart.
It's forcing us apart. Well, we're not going to be forced apart, but the galaxies are.
Okay, you say there are three different types of nothing.
That's right.
What are the three? I didn't know there was such a variety.
Yeah,
a sampler platter of
I would have thought
nothing.
you'd be an expert on it, but
on
in any
nothingness?
case, yeah.
Yes. Before the moment of creation, there can be no time and no space and no energy.
And no energy. Zero
and then
energy.
Suddenly, from nowhere and from nothing, comes something and somewhere.
And all sorts of stuff. And it sounds like the ultimate free lunch. And
yes,
it is.
It is.
It is. And it really, and what's remarkable is it's possible without any supernatural shenanigans.
But listen, stop with that.
Why?
Why is what you're doing, whatever this is? Because obviously, because I am not in the priesthood, I can't understand the scrawls on the blackboards you people down at where are you?
Well, that's why I wrote the book, so you could.
Where are you? You're Arizona State.
Arizona
Okay.
State.
You priests of theoretical physics, you can explain to each other what you mean with your language of math, and I have to take that on faith.
No, in fact, you should be skeptical.
I am.
And in fact, you should. I know. And that's why you should. That's why I tried to provide the arguments in the book.
But I will never read it.
There's no evidence for God.
Okay.
There's no evidence for God.
So let me ask something. If there is no God, okay, if there is no thing called God, if he is nothing, can't something come from him?
People don't want to assert that nothing made them. Chance, random mutations acted upon by natural selection. There is no such thing as consciousness. You're just a biological robot, and your consciousness is merely an illusion. These people are retards. How can you ever take anything that they say as being sane, rational, reasonable? You cannot. If they're going to assert that they're a bunch of bumbling, bumping particles with no free will, no volition, no consciousness, then how can you ever take anything that they assert to be true or meaningful? It's nonsense. So question the fundamental, question the actual reality that you're living in, have a look at it, and then you'll start to see the narratives unfolding and the reason why they are there, that they perpetuate a certain state of mind in you, okay? Giving away your individuality, giving away your own authority, handing it over to invisible entities that you don't know, who are going to make claims and statements and tell you how to be and how to live your life. And these very same people are telling you that it all happened from a big bang. With no rhyme or reason to it, no intelligence behind it whatsoever. But you have to somehow take them as intelligent. Total nonsense. You know, you have to be intellectually honest enough to realise that there is a prime mover, there is a base reality to this whole experience. Right? Now, why can these people not just accept that? But see, this is the other problem with this whole narrative that runs in science. You know, as Rupert Sheldrake termed it, the give us one free miracle. Well, that's what they want. They just want the free miracle. Like, just take it from the point that all the matter and all the complexity is here, and then try and explain things from then on forward. No. You know, nothing comes from nothing. There had to be intent. There has to be a prime mover, a prime reality behind this whole shebang. So these New Age atheists have swept up ideas, ideologies by guys like Christopher Hitchens and Richard Dawkins and Sam Harris and all these fucking creepy weirdos that are telling you that you're a bunch of bumbling particles, right? But want to assert that they've got some sort of intelligence and an intelligent authority over you, that they somehow understand reality better than you do. They are absolute creepy, weird morons. No intelligence, a serious lack of intelligence. They are lazy bastards. And people that were just mentioned, these New Age atheist type guys, they're morons. They think because you can ridicule and laugh at literal interpretations of you know, ancient stories, that somehow gives them the intellectual superior high ground. They're just deluded. Their heads are full of hot air because they lend their attention to fucking dipshits like Dawkins. These people are pushing an agenda. And these wee followers and these wee minions are too stupid to realise that that agenda is being driven specifically and deliberately to give human beings a false sense of their reality, to keep them in ignorance and bewilderment. So why not just say, like I say, I reject man's concepts of this prime mover. It's of no interest to me. I'm not in a position to fully understand it while I'm here as part of the effects of the prime mover, which is out with, underlying, within the whole fucking shebang. You're not going to get there. You know, what do we understand as human beings? We understand complexity, design and information can only emanate from a conscious intent, from a mind that has that capability to intend things to be and to display design within it. It's everywhere. But this narrative will continually try and play it down and come up with all sorts of fantastical mathematical concepts yet again. When you reason with it, and you know, for me there is no way to escape it. We're existing in three-dimensional space right now. Does that end? If it does end, where does it go?
Oh my God! There's another doll in here. Hi, look at this. There's a doll in here. Man, look at this thing here. Oh my God, there's another one. Look at this. Did you know that?
Yeah,
That's
I did.
awesome. Look at that little doll. Oh my goodness, look at that.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
keeps going.
Can you-
It keeps going. There's more. There's more dolls
Yeah.
in here. There's more dolls. You have
Yeah.
one doll, you have another doll.
No,
Put this on top of this doll.
that's what they are.
I just gotta see, gotta get to the bottom of it.
Yeah, there's
You're
a lot.
kidding me. You're not
Touch
gonna
it.
tell me that it goes again.
What's that?
Guys, there's another one.
The prime reality for me has to be eternal. Always has been, always will be. This is just a temporary aspect or an experience of temporary living or being within an eternal realm. You can't get an ending. That's why they'll come up with shit and say space is infinite, or there's multiverses, or there's whatever. There's no way to escape it. There's no such thing as no thing. If you would like to go further into any of these avenues that we have touched upon, please send me an email.
Comes to the origin of life, there are only two possibilities: creation or spontaneous generation. There is no third way. Spontaneous generation was disproved 100 years ago, but that leads us to only one other conclusion, that of supernatural creation. We cannot accept that on philosophical grounds, therefore we choose to believe the impossible, that life arose spontaneously by chance. End quote. See what he's saying there is that science has to be conducted in a naturalistic vacuum. On philosophical grounds, we can't follow the evidence wherever it leads if it leads us outside the natural realm, to a metaphysical realm, to a supernatural realm. We have to stay within this naturalistic, materialistic box. This in 1954, and the idea here is that science will ultimately answer all of these questions. But the last thing that we want to do is jump into some kind of philosophical or theological explanation. It's interesting that 30 years later, in 1984, the late George Wald again gave us another quote. This was called Life and Mind in the Universe, and he actually was speaking at the Quantum Biology Symposium. And here's what he said 30 years after the quote I just read you. It has occurred to me lately, I must confess, with some shock at first to my scientific sensibilities, that both questions, meaning the origin of consciousness in humans and of life from non-living matter, might be brought into some degree of congruence. This is with the assumption that mind, rather than emerging as a late outgrowth in the evolution of life, has existed always as the matrix, the source and condition of physical reality. The stuff of which physical reality is composed is mind stuff. It is mind that has composed a physical universe that breeds life and so eventually evolves creatures that know and create science, art, and technology-making animals. In them, the universe begins to know itself. This again was 1984 by the late George Wald, an agnostic and materialist naturalist. But do you see where he's going there? He brings in a notion of mind. He says, as I studied these 30 years, these 3 decades since his previous statement, how does matter become mind? It doesn't. Mind must bring forth matter. You see, matter has never brought forth consciousness or rationality or mind. Information. See, now we know with the simple cell, so-called, or DNA, that this is information code. Information theory would say that this type of code, this type of ordered sequence, this type of information can only be a product of mind, of intelligence. There is no other alternative. So what is George Wald saying here? Even though it shocks his scientific sensibilities, it's that in all areas of study, mind must bring forth information, matter, etc. Matter never brings forth mind. Think about that.
And there is a whole field of scientific study called information science, which studies how information originates, how it's transmitted, and so on. And one of the laws of information science says that information never originates by itself in matter, never spontaneously comes about. Anytime we trace the copying of information back to its source, it always comes back to a mind. It's not something that could possibly come about through millions of years of mutations and natural selection.
And did you believe in God?
Oh, yes.
Do you now believe in God?
Now? Difficult to answer. I know. I don't need to believe. I know. You know, there are these peculiar faculties of the psyche, that it isn't entirely confined to space and time. Now these facts show that the psyche, in part at least, is not dependent upon these confinements. And then what? When the psyche is not under that obligation to live in time and space alone, and obviously it doesn't. And that means a practical continuation of life, of a sort of psychical existence beyond time and space. Only ignorance deny these facts.
Do you yourself believe that death is probably the end, or do you believe that?
Well, I can't say. You see, the word belief is a difficult thing for me. I don't believe. I must have a reason for a certain hypothesis. Either I know a thing, and when I know it, I don't need to believe it. If I don't allow myself, for instance, to believe a thing just for the sake of believing it. I can't believe it. But when there are sufficient reasons for a certain hypothesis, I shall accept these reasons, naturally.
Well, now, you told us that we should regard death as being a goal,
Yes.
and that to shrink away from it is to evade life and
Yes.
life purposes.
Yes.
What advice would you give to people in their later life to enable them to do this, when most of them must in fact believe that death is the end of everything?
When he is afraid, when he doesn't look forward, he looks back. He petrifies. He gets stiff and he dies before his time. But when he is living on, looking forward to the great adventure that is ahead, then he lives. And that is about what the unconscious is intending to do. Of course, it's quite obvious that we are all going to die, and this is the sad finale of everything. But nevertheless, there is something in us that doesn't believe it, apparently. But this is merely a fact, a psychological fact. Doesn't mean to me that it proves something. It is simply so. And I think if you think along the lines of nature, then you think properly.